Real Virginia is proudly produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. Since 1926, Farm Bureau has been working to preserve Virginia farms and our rural heritage. Visit our website at vafarmbureau.org.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Hello everyone and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce all of the wonderful products we enjoy, brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau.
We're well into the growing season, but a local foods company is seeking more farmers and communities to bring fresh-raised foods into consumers' hands. As we start a countdown to the State Fair of Virginia, Chef John Maxwell shares his recipe for blue ribbon chili. And we'll visit one gardener who's hoping to grow an award-winning watermelon this summer.
Welcome back everyone. We are here in Chesterfield County at the Great Big Greenhouse and their farmers market, which goes on weekly here on Thursdays. And it's a great opportunity folks to come out and enjoy farm fresh foods. And 7 years ago, there was a movement in Central Virginia to bring farm fresh foods to the people of Charlottesville. And that's what started the local food hub. And now the food hub is looking for even more farmers and customers to be able to enjoy those farm fresh products.
The energy is in high gear. Despite the summer heat in this warehouse, workers move fresh fruit and vegetables into the cooler after local farmers drop off their produce for distribution to buyers. In 2009, a team of farmers, community members, and nonprofit and food distribution experts came together to launch the local food hub. Today, the link between small family farms and institutions seeking local food has flourished, and demand continues to grow rapidly.
When we first started 7 years ago, we had a network of about 10 growers that we were working with and one delivery truck and a handful of customers. And today we've expanded to over 60 small family farms and over 200 customers throughout the state and DC as well. We have such an amount of beautiful farmland and a really strong rural heritage that we really seek to preserve and ensure that our growers can remain on their land, pass it down to generations, and then to also get more folks interested in growing and taking up farming as a career.
This grassroots effort is now branching out beyond local markets and specialty restaurants and is impacting schools and health clinics.
We received a tremendous amount of support in the beginning, and we continue to solicit and seek that support to operate some of our programs in the community that we feel are truly increasing access to local food. For example, we partner with many of the school districts to operate snack programs. We're very active during Virginia Farm to School Week, bringing farmers into the cafeteria and helping schools plan to incorporate local foods into their cafeteria line. And we also work with some of the low-income health clinics in our area to operate a fruit and veggie prescription programs.
Fresh foods are also being delivered to senior centers, hospitals, and universities, while the Food Hub continues to cater to restaurants and retailers who were the original customers. The Hub also schools new partner farms and producers on marketing their products and is always looking to help small farm owners find distribution opportunities.
I think a lot of people don't know about the types of programs and services that we provide both to our partner farms as well as to the community. One of the most important things that we believe that we can do for farmers is paying them a fair price for their food, but we also believe that if we provide them the support and resources that they need to be successful on the farm, we're going to build a more robust and resilient local food system. So we provide a lot of one-on-one training and technical assistance to our farms. We visit all of our farms, we get to know them and their families, and we really help them be the best growers that they can be.
The local food hub offers fresh fruits and vegetables, frozen meats and poultry, eggs, honey, grains, and more to clients. Farmers receive an average of 80 cents on the dollar. The hub purchases products outright and assumes responsibility for liability, traceability, marketing, and sales. For information on the local food hub, call 434-244-0625 or find them online at localfoodhub.org.
The market for locally grown foods has exploded in the past decade. There are more than 250 farmers markets in the Old Dominion where growers sell directly to the public. That number increases each year. A number of online local food vendors have also sprung up in urban areas, promising to deliver locally raised vegetables, fruits, baked goods, and meats to consumers. Each of these services has a slightly different business model, but they all seek to make it easier to buy local foods. And while no one's getting rich, there is some potential. The Census of Agriculture reports there are more than 1,600 vegetable farms in Virginia, most of them small. They sell more than $92 million worth of produce each year.
I'm Mark Viette. Coming up on In the Garden, I'm going to talk about adding interest to your garden. Stay with us.
90 years ago, the Virginia Farm Bureau made our local farmers a promise to protect and preserve a way of life they'd worked so hard to establish. Today, our insurance agents work to protect all Virginians, not just farmers. Anyone can be a Farm Bureau member, but the original promise remains. There's a local Farm Bureau in every county of the state. We want to keep Virginia, Virginia. Visit our websites at farmbureauadvantage.com and vafarmbureau.org.
Whether you're designing formal or informal gardens, Mark Viette says you should add something special for year-round appeal.
This is Bella. One of the things that we've learned about adding statuary to the garden is that there's a variety of sizes you can use. If you want to use something that's lifelike like this, and if you've got room, keep in mind it's going to weigh, 700-800 pounds. It'd take a couple people to get it to the garden. But we've added lots of statuary in a garden. We've even put in sitting benches, large containers, bird baths. We have literally filled many areas in the garden. And a lot of times when you use statuary or containers like this, your eye goes to those areas, so it leads to interest in the garden. So not only do you have a wide variety of plants, trees, shrubs, annuals, perennials, maybe bulbs, but then you also can add some of these statues in the garden. And I guess one of the keys is just make sure it's got a good solid footing so they don't fall over. But the great thing about some of the concrete containers is the concrete containers can stay out in the garden year-round. One of the advantages is, since they're so heavy duty in the way that they're constructed, that they don't crack. Like the clay pot right next to me here, you have to bring that in every year or it will freeze, crack, and break. Not only can you put annuals and tropicals in these large containers, but you can plant perennials like hostas and ferns and dahlias and just leave them in the garden, and you don't have to replant them. They'll come back year after year after year. We all like to attract birds in our garden. Not only do we feed them, but we also need to provide water for our birds. Bird baths are a great way to provide water. You can have bird baths on pedestals, or many birds like the bird baths right on the ground. They'll come to them. You just need to change the water frequently and make sure you keep them filled as much as you can. If you look around, you can hear the red-winged blackbirds, the goldfinches, the mourning doves. They all feed on the water throughout the summer months. I'm Mark Viette. Join me next time in the garden.
For more garden tips, go to inthegardenradio.com.
Chef Maxwell gets serious in the kitchen with his blue ribbon winning chili recipe coming up in the heart of the home. Stay with us.
From our farms to your table. Virginia dairy farm families are dedicated to providing your family with nutritious, high-quality milk.
I'm Dan Myers, a fifth-generation dairy farmer from Virginia.
I'm Roy Vanderhyde, a first-generation dairy farmer from Virginia.
I'm Gerald Heatwell, a third-generation dairy farmer from Virginia.
I am dedicated to dairy, my cows,
My milk,
and our land.
You're going to need me. You're going to need all of us. You're going to need the next generation of leaders to face the challenges the future will bring. And we promise we'll be there when you need us.
Chili con carne, or chili with meat, is considered an American dish with Hispanic roots. Food historians can trace the first written mention of this spicy stew-like dish to at least the middle of the 19th century. Descriptions of the dish originated in Texas, especially San Antonio, and always included spicy peppers. In 1893, the San Antonio chili stand at the Columbian Exposition in Chicago helped spread the dish's fame in the North, and it's now just as popular in colder climates as Texas. And there are now as many variations of the dish as there are cooks preparing it. The greatest difference of opinion is whether to include beans in the recipe.
Summertime isn't typically when we think about chili. However, according to Chef Maxwell, it might be the perfect time, especially when he's giving out his secret recipe for his winning chili at the State Fair of Virginia. Chef John Maxwell joins us now in the heart of the home.
Hi, and welcome to Chef Maxwell's Kitchen in the heart of the home at Meadow Event Park in Doswell, Virginia. Each week, we play with some great Virginia food and do recipes that you can do in your home. So today, we've got a real special treat. Now, I know everybody likes chili, and almost everybody that likes chili has got a really good recipe for chili. So I know you're going to enjoy yours, but this is one that I won the State Fair of Virginia Best Tasting Chili in Virginia competition a couple of years ago, and I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. All right, so we're going to start with a hot pan, and I'm going to add a little bit of peanut oil. Right, I like peanut oil because it gets hotter than other oils, doesn't have a very strong flavor, so the food doesn't get too affected by that. So now, in order for this chili to work well, I need the meat to stay intact. So I've got some pork that I diced up. Now listen to this. Love it when the food sings to me. All right? There's some pork and some beef. All right? And I'm going to stir that around and let that sear. So we're going to give that a couple of minutes. All right? And you can see down here where there's some brown starting at the bottom of the pot. That's called a fond in classical cooking. That's bits of the food and bits of the protein that are sticking to the bottom of the pot. A lot of times, and it's been brought to my attention, that you usually do things like garlic and onions first and then add your meat. And oftentimes that's true, but every time you add a vegetable to your pot, you're adding water, and water has a tendency to never get hotter than 212 degrees, so it drops the temperature in your pot. So I like to brown the meat first and then add my vegetables to it. All right, I'm looking down at my pot here and I can see that it's all seared off. It's not all brown, but that's okay. It is all seared. So now I'm going to add my garlic, and this is chopped garlic. All right, and I'm going to stir that around a little bit to get that distributed. Now I'm going to add onions. All right. And I'm going to add green peppers. And I'm going to stir that around. All right. And make sure that the pot comes back up to heat. Because remember, I said as soon as I add the vegetables, adding that liquid that's in those vegetables lowers the temperature, so we need to wait for that to come back up to heat. So now I'm going to add some tomato paste. I'm not sure whether the camera will be able to pick this up, but what we're going to try and do is something called a pincée. Right? And that means we're going to stir this tomato paste around, right, and let it cook on the bottom. We're going to add the tomato to the fond, to the brown stuff that was already on the bottom of the pot. And as it starts to cook, we'll see, and it's hard for me to see, so I know it's hard for you to see, we'll see some oil begin to leach out of the tomato paste. It'll be kind of an orangey oil, and that's what I'm looking for. As soon as that starts to leach out, right, then I know that my tomato is about ready, and that means that the sugars that are in the tomato has started to change, right? So now we're going to add some wine, some red wine, and we've got a red tomato in here and a red wine. All right? I'm going to stir that around, and you can see almost instantly it begins to turn brown. All right. So we want more brown in there, so we're going to add 2 brown liquids. Then we're going to add some beef stock in here. All right, and stir that around, and this will help give it a nice rich flavor. All right. And we're going to add some coffee, some good leftover, almost undrinkable coffee. Now, I drink coffee that's a day, 2 days old, so it's not undrinkable for me, but for civilized people, this might be a little extreme. So we're going to let that come to a boil, right? And while we're doing that, I'm going to add a couple of more ingredients. I'm going to add black beans, right, that I have cooked, par-cooked, right? And I'm going to add pinto beans. Now, the recipe calls for anasazi beans, but they're very difficult to find, and you can only find them really dried, so they take a long time to cook. But pinto beans will work. Those go in there. Right. Now, because I want this to achieve a Tex-Mex kind of flavor, I'm going to add a little bit of salsa. And it doesn't matter the brand that you use, whatever brand of salsa that you like, as long as it's a basic tomato salsa. That ties in lots of the flavor. I didn't give it enough to really change the flavor. I gave it enough to kind of provide some background. This dried pepper is called an ancho, and it is a ripe, dried poblano pepper. That's what an ancho is. And this is a chipotle pepper. And a chipotle pepper is a jalapeno pepper that's been smoked. So those are the 2 peppers that I'm going to put into this recipe. Right. Now you can buy chipotle pepper in a jar. It works fine. It doesn't make any difference if it's dried and ground or dried and chopped. But I'm going to put a chunk of this in there, right? Cut a little bit off so it goes into the thing, and just drop that whole thing down in there. Right? And cut this up a little bit more. Now these will reconstitute in there, but the big one I'll be able to pull out. The little one I won't. And I'm going to do the same thing with the ancho pepper. Inside here are a lot of seeds. I just assumed that didn't come out and go into the recipe, so I'm going to put 2 ancho peppers in there and let them simmer. I'm also going to add some cumin seed. Now, cumin seed is one of my favorite spices. I ground this up. Oh, it's nice. It is chili. Right? That's the best I can describe that smell. So I'm going to add the cumin seed, and I'm going to be pretty generous with this. It's the classic chili spice. All right. And the only other thing I've got to add to this is tomatoes. All right. Can of tomatoes and some vinegar. And I'm using pub vinegar. It's malt vinegar. It's got a nice round, smooth flavor. And now everything that's going in this is in it. And what we've got to do now is wait. Find something to do for about 2 hours. All right, we've got this wonderful chili. It's cooked a long time. It's tightened up nice. It's good and thick. All right, and we're going to spoon this out. All right, we're going to take a little sour cream and put that right on top. All right, and then we're going to take some shredded cheddar cheese and sprinkle that on top. And we are all ready to sit down with beer and cornbread and knock out some chili. We'll see you next week here at Chef Maxwell's Kitchen in the heart of the home in Doswell, Virginia at Meadow Event Park.
Recipes from the heart of the home can be found on Chef Maxwell's website, chefjohnmaxwell.com.
Boating under the influence is illegal no matter where you boat. Law enforcement officers will be conducting heightened enforcement patrols during Operation Drywater, looking for boaters who are boating under the influence. Alcohol is the leading contributing factor in recreational boating deaths. Stay safe, stay sober, never boat under the influence.
The State Fair of Virginia is a little more than a month away, and folks have been thinking about what they're going to enter for their best produce, food, or craft. As Dave Miller shows us, there's one guy who's been thinking about this for a long time.
Junior Brent's home near the Rappahannock River is surrounded by abundant wildlife, water views, boats, and fishing. But instead of spending his spare time on the water, he spends hours each day working in his garden. Brent is a champion giant fruit and vegetable grower and competes yearly in the State Fair of Virginia Giant Watermelon Contest.
Once you grow one big one, then you get addicted to it. And it's nothing like getting a plant going and seeing your watermelon coming out. And then you decide which one you want, and you decide, well, I'm gonna pick that one. And you start plucking off all the rest. And each day you come out, that thing is probably about twice as big each day. I've had them last year to grow 2 inches overnight. It is unbelievable. And it just gets in your blood. You can't help it. I mean, and I love fishing, I love gardening, but while I'm out there fishing, I want to be home in the garden.
In addition to bragging rights, there is also a first place ribbon and a cash prize. There's an entire culture of gardeners who raise giant vegetables for fun in Virginia and other states. They swap tips and sell seeds to each other, sometimes for hundreds of dollars each.
The watermelon competition is something people look forward to every year. Our winner last year weighed in just over 160 pounds, and in the past we've had watermelons that have come in over 200 pounds. So it's a lot of fun each year for guests to come and be there as they weigh them and see if it's going to be a record breaker, how big it's going to be, and how many slices of watermelon they think they could make out of just one of those big giant watermelons.
It's not all about watermelons in Brent's garden. He raises tomatoes, and his plants have reached over 14 feet in height. He grows staples like squash and corn, even some popcorn. He has an entire field of asparagus and harvests it daily during the season. But one of his fondest memories is of the big win at the State Fair of Virginia in 2014. In fact, he still holds the state record for that melon.
They weighed everybody's before they weighed me last. And Billy, Wells had, I forget what he had, I think he had a 190 pounder. And I knew that was nice pumpkin, nice watermelon. And we all picked up my watermelon, took it over to the scales, and set it down 218.5. I said, oh my goodness. I couldn't believe it. I was so excited.
The State Fair was founded on showcasing Virginia agriculture, and visitors can learn a lot about where their food comes from. That's something that has become very important to shoppers in recent years. It can be a learning experience as well as a lot of fun for the entire family. So while many folks look forward to visiting the State Fair of Virginia each year, Brent is keeping his eye on the prize and hoping to break another state record for the heaviest watermelon or pumpkin, or at least to bring home another blue ribbon. In Lancaster County, this is Dave Miller.
That's going to do it for this edition of Real Virginia. We are so glad you could join us to celebrate the bounty Virginia has to offer. Whether it's in your home, your garden, or your landscape, we are proud to say that this is Real Virginia. So for everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a good week.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart. Oh,